How are you all doing tonight? My name is Bigbobbedboi, and welcome to 10 Things to Know Before Going into Wrath of the Lich King Classic. So a long time ago, we did a video like this on TBC, and that video was dope shit. So we're doing one for Wrath. These are not 10 specific things, just stuff that is kind of important to Wrath. We're talking about things that change going from TBC to Wrath, but also a little bit of what changes from Wrath to Wrath Classic. Alright, first up, the raid sizes and difficulties. In Classic, we had 40 and 20 man raids respectively. In TBC, we had 25 and 10 man raids respectively. In Wrath, we have 25 or 10 man raids, plus heroic modes. Yes, each raid can be done in a 10-man version or a 25-man version. Those are separate lockouts for each of those raids, so you can do ICC 10 and ICC 25 in the same week. It does get a little more confusing with the heroics. Earlier tiers don't really have heroic modes, but some have specific fights where they have like a harder version you can do. So Obsidian Sanctum, you can leave the Drakes up while you fight Sarthorian, or some fights in Old War. So Mimiran, you push the big red button because of course someone is going to push it every goddamn time, even when you don't want them to. Trial of the Crusader is where shit really got annoying. This raid had a heroic mode just like Dungeons. So there was a 10, 10 heroic, 25, and 25 heroic, all on separate lockouts. Blizz has said they don't want to repeat that for Classic. 10 and 10 heroic will share a lockout, and so will 25 and 25 heroic. ICC had yet another system for heroic raids because Blizzard could not make up their damn minds back in 09. For ICC, you could switch on a per boss basis between heroic and regular. Some fights like the airship were so easy on heroic, almost nobody did them on regular. Overall, these are really good changes. It's pretty fun to be able to do every raid in your little 10-man group. Liz did say they do want Trial of the Crusader to take on the same system as ICC, but they couldn't promise it, so I would expect disappointment, then you won't be disappointed. Dual Spec, a gift from Hunter Jesus himself. Dual Spec came in with, I think it was patch 3.1, costs 1,000 gold, and basically gives you 2 specs you can switch between. When you swap your specs, it's a 5-second cast, and it also drains all your mana for some reason. It's possible that Wrath Classic version will be a little different. I've heard talk of it being restricted compared to the original. I also can't just go check on the beta because Liz just didn't give me beta access this time. I guess I pissed off someone at Blizzard. Not the first time that's happened. But the pre-patch is on the PTR, so I can check there, and I can say for certain the PTR version is how it was in original Wrath. Cost is still 1,000, you still have separate glyphs for each spec, and there don't seem to be any weird restrictions at all, same as it was in original. Nice! Profession changes. Professions were really important in TBC, and they're still really important in Wrath, but in kind of a different way. A lot of what made professions so good in TBC was the gear that they provided. Stun Herald, Primal Mooncloth, Goggles. Gear from professions still exists and it can be good in Wrath, but all professions provide some kind of a unique benefit that are broadly, but not really, balanced. For instance, Alchemy gives you an unlimited flask that gives 47 spell power, 40 strength, 80 AP, but also a buff to normal flasks. Blacksmithing gives you extra gem sockets. Enchanting is ring enchants. JC gives some JC exclusive gems. Leatherworking gives bracer enchants. Engineering gives an insane amount of shit like a haste cooldown on gloves and a frag belt. Even gathering professions give something. Skinning is a flat crit boost, mining is a flat stam boost, and herbalism gives you a hot with a 3-minute cooldown. All professions provide some kind of bonus, and all of them are actually pretty good. If you're just a casual player, it's probably not going to matter. If you're not a casual player, wanting to push Glad or something like Yogg Zero, then it can matter. Engineering is going to be a really popular combo, so is Blacksmithing and JC. Surprisingly, Wowhead has a pretty good guide on what benefits each profession gives you, compare generic versions you'll use if you don't have the profession. I'll link it in the box. Inscription and glyphs. Like TBC, Wrath brings another new profession, Inscription. Inscription uses herbs to make inks to make other shit like scrolls. You can make scrolls. That would have been nice in TBC when agility scrolls were expensive as fuck, but at least it's coming in Wrath, I guess. More importantly, Inscription also makes glyphs. These are similar in effect to talents, and while they changed a lot over the life of WoW, in Wrath we will have 6 glyphs total, 3 major and 3 minor. Minor glyphs, as the name should imply but kinda doesn't, are usually less consequential and also include cosmetics or reagent related stuff, like removing the reagent requirement for levitate or water walking. But they can also be pretty important, like Glyph of Feigned Death, reducing the cooldown on FD by 5 seconds, or Glyph of Death's Embrace, letting your death coil refund 20 RP when you use it for a heal. There's actually quite a few important minor glyphs. Major glyphs, on the other hand, are usually pretty important, adding some kind of effect to a core ability like Serpent Sting, Pain Sup, Wolves, D&D. There's a ton of them, and pretty much every spec has 3 they want, sometimes even more than 3. I think Elemental only needed 2, but don't worry about that. And it can be a bit of a difficult decision choosing which ones you will use. A lot of Inscription recipes are discovered kind of like alchemy was in TBC, so if you get a good one, these can be huge moneymakers. And they make random Dark Moon cards, with some of those new decks being extremely good. If you like to gamble, you'll like Inscription. Daily quests don't matter. Oh, okay, so they sort of don't matter. Daily quests in Wrath are kind of all over the place. If you're a JC, there's a JC daily, and you do kind of want to do that. There's cooking and fishing dailies, even a PvP daily. Those serve a similar purpose to the ones that are already in TBC. Then there's dailies for Alliance Vanguard, Wormrest Accord, Knights of the Ebon Blade. These ones, they just don't really matter. In Wrath, you put on a tabard for... Yes, it's pronounced tabard. I don't want to see any shit in the comments about how it's tabard. It's tabard. How do you pronounce this word? That's what I thought. You put on a tabard for rep in dungeons. So, for example, you need Wormrest rep. Put on their tabard, go run dungeons, get Wormrest rep. Easy. Most factions have a tabard. Sons of Hodir is an important one that doesn't have a tabard. This is for shoulder enchants. But there are a lot of quests for rep outside of dailies, and there's different turn-in items for the rep. So even if you do have to do their dailies, it will not be for very long. Which just means a lot of these dailies are worthless. There's one kind of big exception, being the Sholazar dailies. There's like these 2 warring factions there, the Frenzy Heart and the Oracles. They both suck. The main reason for doing those dailies is to get some dumb pets or the green Proto Drake. But it's super annoying. The green Drake specifically comes from the Oracles. You can buy an egg starting at Revered. You wait a week, it will hatch, and supposedly it's a 2% chance for it to be the green Proto, but it's probably just going to be garbage. I did this at least half of Wrath on 2 characters, and I never got the green Drake, so I don't know, fuck those guys. If you really like ugly pets, or you like to fish, there's also the Tuskar dailies. There's also a bear mount from a daily, but that's not even a rep reward, it's just random. Later on, we will get more daily quests with the Argent Tournament, but we'll talk about that shit when we get there, because I hate that damn place. Bring the class, not the player, aka Buffpocalypse. The Blizz dev team had this bring the player, not the class mentality for Wrath. What this means in normal speak is that classes have a lot of overlap, especially in regards to buffs. Blessing of Might is no longer unique. Warriors have Battle Shout, which is the exact same buff. True Shot Aura, it's the same as Unleashed Rage now. Same thing happens with a lot of debuffs as well. So if you log in on pre-patch and you wonder what the fuck is going on with your buffs and debuffs, it's probably this. Cross Realm Dungeon Finder tool. Original Wrath had a dungeon finder. Basically like it is on retail. It'll automatically put you into a group and teleport your lazy ass into the dungeon. It was not there at launch, but it did show up in Wrath. Some people who are mostly fucked say it was one of the best things ever implemented. Others say it ruined the game. Wrath Classic is not going to have it. We're going to have a looking for group tool, basically the same as the one we have in TBC. But I do expect them to add this later on into Wrath. I know some people don't want to hear that, and even I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm more confused about if I want the dungeon finder or not than my own sexuality. But there was even an achievement for using it that granted a pet, and some of these are still on the pre-patch on PTR. So I would really expect Blizz to bring it in around the same time that it came in with Original Wrath, which was patch 3.3.0. That was the ICC patch. So that would be pretty late into Wrath Classic, if I'm correct, which I'm probably not. I'm really drunk right now. You really shouldn't be taking anything I'm saying seriously. Wintergrasp. In Classic, we had Plaguelands Towers. In TBC, we had things like Terracore Towers. Wrath brings Wintergrasp, which is sort of an evolution of those ideas. It's a zone dedicated to PvP with a battle for control of the zone. Or at least it was. Blizzard has said because of layering, the original version of Wintergrasp will not work in Classic. Instead, we're getting a battleground version. Every 3 hours you queue up, which is how much it was in original. You can queue up either in the zone or at an NPC in Dalaran. There are walls and workshops and shit. If you're the attacker, you gotta build vehicles at the workshops and assault the walls to get inside. You get inside the vault, you win. If you're the defender, you defend. Try to destroy vehicles and take workshops away from the attacker, and you just run out the clock. If your faction wins, you can also earn Stonekeeper shards and do Vault of Archivon. Vault of Archivon is easy as shit, but also super frustrating. This boss has a huge pool of drops consisting of tier gear and PvP gear. It's totally worth doing it, especially if you PvP, but the chances of it dropping a piece you want are pretty low, so don't expect much out of it. Vault of Archivon does add more bosses over the expansion to keep the gear relevant, and it doesn't really increase in difficulty that much either, so you'll be doing it the entire expansion. And final thing in Wintergrasp, the herbs and ore were really good in Wintergrasp and Original Wrath. I would expect that to be the same in Classic. Mount and pet tabs. This is good. This is a very good thing. Every time you get a pet or a mount now, you right click it and you learn it. Then it will show up in your mount tab or your pet tab. You don't have to carry mounts around in your bags anymore or leave pets in the bank. This is a really nice change. These are not going to be account-wide in Classic though, but on the plus side, this is also when mounts go down to a 1.5 second cast. Nice! Barbershop. In Org and Stormwind, we've got the Barbershop. This lets you change your hair, skin color, tentacles, all kinds of other shit like that. But the Wrath Classic version actually includes a few more things. These goblins are apparently top tier surgeons because you can now do a sex change at the barbershop. Sorry, body type change. There's even a randomized option that comes in at a reduced price. I guess that's cool. There's probably a few people that'll use that. Alright, number 10 wasn't really the barbershop. That's not a big deal. We're actually going to end on the super secret number 11, achievements. The Xbox 360 influence is still felt even to this day in WoW with achievements. For the most part, they are pretty boring. Like, you get achievements for leveling to 80, for doing quests, whatever. But there are some fun challenges in here that do add gameplay. Like the Glory of series. It's a bunch of fun little challenges that usually reward a mount like the Red Proto Drake or Rust Proto Drake. These challenges can be things like defeat a boss in a certain amount of time, defeat a boss while skipping ads, or there's a whole host of things they can be. There's tons and tons of them. They are pretty cool. They also make the seasonal events worth by adding a meta achievement to those. That will give you the Violet Proto Drake, probably the easiest way to get a 310% speed mount. Along with a bunch of other ones like zone exploration, mount collection, basically what you'd expect from achievements. There's no real change for these in Wrath Classic, even compared to retail. But like mounts, they are also not account wide. And that is 10, but really 11 things to know before going into Wrath Classic. I know it's been a long while since we did a video, and as I said way back when, I was having some health problems messing me up, but we're mostly good now, so the videos are back on full throttle, and we're going hard into Wrath. So expect another video next week, and probably streams pretty soon, but I can't guarantee that. If you enjoyed the video, hit that sub button, bell, like button. About time we got a video button, share button, all that other shit. I appreciate each and every one I get. This channel even has memberships now. You can check them out by clicking the join button right by the sub button. I stream right here on YouTube. Probably. I hope you'll join me. But that is going to be all for this one. I really appreciate you all watching, and I will see you all for the next one.